Welcome back. You're listening to Houston Real Estate Radio. I'm your host, Shannon Register, and every week we bring you news and information you can use on your next real estate transaction. Earlier in the show, you heard Chris Hogan talking about his new book, and the book is Retire Inspired. Chris did a book signing here in the Houston market, and Keith Hebert is joining me this segment. We after we talked with Chris Hogan, and he did the book signing, Keith went over to his seminar, to Chris's seminar that he did in the Woodlands. So we're going to talk a little bit about that, about what they talked about. We're talking about, just planning for the future and making sure that you are going to retire the way that you want to retire. We're talking about that because in the next section of the show, we're going to talk about investing. And so the way that you plan retirement is going to lead into how you can invest. And so we're going to be talking about investments today. So I know you're going to have questions. So feel free to give us a call, 844-788-9444. That number again is 844-788-9444. And if you've got a real estate question and you use that number to call us and we use your question on the air, you will get a copy of Chris Hogan's book for free. We'll mail it to you. That number again is 844-788-9444. We'd love to hear from you. All right, Keith Hebert is here in the studio, and Keith is a realtor. He's a broker over at Register Real Estate Advisors. So you went to see Chris Hogan last night in the Woodlands. Tell us about it.
Yeah, well, it was a fantastic event. I was amazed that there was probably 900 or 1,000 people there. And the big takeaway I got from it was, wake up, Houston, Texas, and start thinking about your finances and how you're going to retire, especially in a real estate perspective. So that was a big aha moment for me, is thinking about your finances and moving with intent.
Mm-hmm. No matter how old you are.
No matter how old you are.
Doesn't matter how old you are.
Retirement's not an age.
And it doesn't matter how much money you make.
Nope, it doesn't. You can. It matters how much intent you have. How you work with intent on your budget. Mm-hmm. A lot of people will spend more time planning their vacations than they do sitting down together, whether you're single or married or significant other, having budget meetings and really planning a financial future and how it's going to actually strategically work.
Chris Hogan is taking over a significant role in the Dave Ramsey Endorsed Local Provider Program. And I know that, Keith, here in Houston, you're an endorsed local provider. Dave Ramsey has always had a great program on saving money and having no debt. And Chris Hogan, I guess he's addressed some of these things. Let's talk about making your money work for you instead of randomly spending it. I guess there were some steps that he told you, 7 steps to kind of take you through. Do you want to talk about those?
Yes. They call them the baby steps, and really, it's important to start with this in mind. And that's, step number 1 is to create a $1,000 emergency fund. Step number 2 would be pay off all your debt with a snowball method. And that would be take your credit card with the smallest balance and pay that one off. Mm-hmm. And then go to the next one until you finally get them all paid off. The next step would be going to get 3 to 6 months of expenses. Make sure you just have that put away in a cash, liquid state. And then start investing, 10 to 15% into basically tax-free investments.
So like an IRA.
An IRA, exactly. Okay. And then, step number 4 would be, funding, getting your college funded, getting funded for your kids. Step number 6 is paying off your home early. And then step number 7 is starting to build wealth.
And one way to pay off your home early may be to refinance it and do a 15-year mortgage instead of a 30-year mortgage. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to make large chunks to principal. It might be refinancing it.
Right. It could be refinancing, or when you go out to purchase a home, maybe you don't buy that, home with a giant mortgage, but you buy a smaller home and you use a 15-year loan that is not so front end loaded with fees. The 30-year mortgages are heavily loaded with interest rate and fees. You're going to pay, considerable amount more. A $100,000 mortgage on a 15-year note isn't going to cost you much more than the 30-year note.
I love how Chris says that retirement isn't an age; it's a number.
Right, and he I think got that from examples when he's out investing, working with other people coming and talk to him. He spoke of a young man about 42 years old who made about $50,000 a year and came to him for investment advice. And he said, well, what do you do? He goes, well, I'm retired. And he said, well, how did you do that? And he said, well, I never bought a new car. I bought smaller homes, and I paid cash for them or near cash, and I turned them into investments.
So I know he talks about being realistic about what you're spending and eliminate waste. And some of the smallest things can eliminate waste. We talked about some little things like getting rid of your landline, because if you have a cell phone, you don't need a landline anymore. Right,
exactly. Or looking at your food budget. Maybe you're just going to the grocery store and buying whatever you want and spending $1,000 a month or $1,500 a month, when that really could be close to $700 a month, or maybe not going out to eat 5 days a week, maybe going out to eat 1 day a week, or not getting that expensive coffee brand, and making your own coffee.
I think that sometimes I've in the past I've looked at my credit card statement, and there are these things that auto bill. Your antivirus stuff on your computer,
right.
All these things that you set up and you forget about, and you don't even own that computer anymore. You have to go in and cancel that stuff. And I think it's good to just take time every once in a while to go through and do housekeeping, clean that kind of stuff up,
Yeah,
you forget about it.
Yeah, exactly. He also talked about, some of the stores you might go to, and, like the large Costco stores where they sell everything.
Yes.
You walk in there for a few things and you walk out with something you don't even need. That might be a big ticket item, but you walk by it, it's there, you want to buy it. Could be some sort of exercise machine that you spend $1,000 on and you never use it. Just be careful with what you spend, and remember to give up a little bit today to get something a lot greater for tomorrow.
Yes. So when you retire, instead of a max, because the thing is, when you go to a lender and you get pre-approved, they're going to tell you how much house you can afford. It doesn't mean you have to spend that much, though. Just if you qualify for $400,000, you may only want to buy a $175,000-$200,000 house, and then buy an investment property or two.
Right,
to kind of help fund your retirement.
Exactly. You could turn those home properties into investment income producing properties. But when you look at when you go to buy a home, don't look at the monthly payment. Everybody wants to show you the monthly payment. Look at what you're going to pay the whole course of the loan, and that will really wake you up as to what you're spending.
So you talked about the 7 steps, and the number 7 was building wealth, and that is through investing. So that's what we're going to be talking about next segment, is actually how do you become an investor? How do you know what to invest in? What do you look for? So we're going to be talking about that next segment, and we're going to be talking about programs to kind of stay away from, because there are some out there that'll take your money and run.
Oh yeah, there's everyone's trying to sell you something.
Yep. All right. Well, we'll be back after a word from our sponsors to talk about that. If you missed any of today's show, you can find us online at HoustonRealEstateRadio.com, and we have all of our videos there of all the shows archived from the last almost 4 years. So you can go there and find lots of information. We have a lot of videos already out there on investing. Next segment, though, is going to be a little bit different focus than we've talked about before. But there are many books out there on investing that you can read. We've had best-selling authors on before talking about their books and how to become an investor. So there are some great books on it. If you've got a real estate question, give us a call, 844-788-9444. And we have Chris Hogan's book, Retire Inspired. It's not an age, it's a financial number. It's forwarded by Dave Ramsey, and I have them signed here by Chris Hogan, and we're going to be giving that away to people who call in their real estate questions, and we use them on the air. So we'll be right back, continuing on with Keith Hebert from Register Real Estate Advisors in just a minute. So stick around. We'll be back after a word from our sponsors here on Houston Real Estate Radio.
People often find themselves in need of storage and moving, but don't want the hassle and stress. Sound familiar? Well, at Zippy Shell, we make storage and moving easy. Zippy Shell will deliver a storage container to your home or business. You load it at your leisure, and we'll take it to one of our safe, convenient storage facilities, or ship it to your final destination. We treat your stuff like it's our stuff, because we understand you're not just giving us your belongings, you're giving us your trust. Zippy Shell. Storage and moving that makes life simple.